Namaste to Guruji. Jai Guruji Aunty.
Jai Guruji Shilpi. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you to Guruji for making me understand this book better also by reading. The whole process is so much healing going on. And thanks to the author. Thanks to the writer, Eckhart Tolle. Looks like I'm addicted to all his books. I must have read all his books and it's just so beautiful. So, Jai Guruji, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivji Sada Sahai, Om Namah Shivaya, Guruji Sada Sahai, Jai Ganeshaya Namah. Welcoming all the revered Sangat who join us for this book reading. And we all are learning together as a group, as a family, because somewhere we all are in that state where either we are in the past or we are in the future. So this is a good time to at least be aware of it, be conscious of it, because unless we are aware and conscious, the change is not going to happen. So that is the first step. And the second step is, as the writer has reinforced so many times, we must learn to distract our thoughts and try to be in the moment. And there's so many exercises we have talked about. So let's move on to today's chapter. Sorry for the late reading today a little bit. So the chapter today is chapter 7. It's page 87. And what we are going to read is about from addictive to enlightened relationships, which is very, very important. Yesterday, we looked so beautifully how the pain body, how emotional pain, everything, how it takes over whatever happened to us past. It just, we live in the present. Also, we keep moving that baggage forward. And sometimes it's so hard, such a big baggage, it's hard to move on every day with our lives. So that was a very, very powerful chapters that we read yesterday. Now let's move on to this. And this is, everything is, I feel this is like a practical book. I mean, we all go through all these every single day. So it is very, very helpful. It's like a small little how to lead our life to our maximum benefit. So we can be joyful. Unless we are joyful, we cannot give joy to others also. So इस शरीर में आने का मतलब ही है maximum joy to maximum people for maximum time. That is the only purpose of us being on this planet. If you can't make a difference, we just lead a life, monotonous life of just getting up, dragging ourselves to work, dragging ourselves for everyday things, keep complaining what is wrong in your life, and keep telling that the other people are the reasons for all that is wrong in your life. So these are very good tools in life. So let's move on to this reading from addictive to enlightened relationships. Love-hate relationships. We all go through that. It's a very, very powerful chapter. Let's understand what the writer is trying to tell us. Unless and until you access the consciousness frequency of presence, all relationships, and particularly intimate relationships, are deeply flawed and ultimately dysfunctional. They may seem perfect for a while, such as when you are in love, but invariably that apparent perfection gets disrupted as arguments, conflicts, dissatisfaction, and emotional or even physical violence occur with increasing frequency. It seems that most love relationships become love-hate relationships before long. Love can then turn into savage attack, feelings of hostility, or complete withdrawal of affection at the flick of a switch. This is considered normal. If in your relationships you experience both love and the opposite of love, attack, emotional violence, and so on, then it is likely that you are confusing ego attachment and addictive clinging with love. You cannot love your partner one moment and attack him or her the next. True love has no opposite. If your love has an opposite, then it is not love, but a strong ego need for a more complete and deeper sense of self. A need that the other person temporarily meets. It is the ego substitute for salvation. And for a short time, it almost does feel like salvation. So let's pause and look at this, what he's trying to focus the light on our everyday life. And this is like, how do we change this kind of, when you meet somebody, when, and you feel that, oh, this is a perfect one for me, and you fall in love and you want to spend all entire life with them, and, just do according, just to please him, or just dress up what he wants, cook what he wants. You become just like you want to please that person. And then what happens after a while? कहते हैं प्यार को महसूस करो, उसको बांधो नहीं. They say that love is like a sand on your palm. Hold it lightly. The more you try to hold your fist, it will slip off through your fingers. That is how love is. We need to know how to balance our love of life. And I would say, most of the time, I don't want to quote anything. I don't want to make a general statement, but most of the time I see that women are more sentimental and emotional. He forgot my birthday. He didn't bring me a gift for this. He didn't bring me that. Love is beyond all that. If you love a person, it doesn't matter. You love him or her unconditionally. और इंडिया में ज़्यादातर अरेंज मैरिजेस होती हैं. Like, I mean, I can talk about myself. We have been married for 40, I don't know how many years. And I just met him few times. That's it. And I didn't know the person, his likes, his dislikes, what he is, and all that. Slowly, and I moved here with him because he was working here. Such a big change. What happens? It was a learning process for me. Every day I found out bit by bit. Most of us, my generation, have been like that, married like that. So it's like love is like more like a mystery. And we grew up together. I was early 20 and he was young, 26, 27. We were just growing together, figuring out life. So you just try to understand. Of course, there's always misunderstandings and fights and this and that. मेरे लिए ये नहीं किया, वो तुम ये भूल गए, ये किया, वो किया, all that. But as we age, we understand this is where we belong. So it depends what works for you. So यहाँ पर ये बहुत अच्छा कह रहे हैं कि ज़्यादातर ऐसे ही होता है, और फिर उसके बाद आर्ग्यूमेंट्स, और फिर लड़ाइयाँ, और फिर उसके बाद कई जगह अगर एक्सट्रीम फिजिकल वायलेंस, I feel should never be tolerated. That is just no. And Agar there's some violence, you need some help. Because this is some kind of sickness. Nobody will hurt physically. लड़ाइयाँ ठीक है पर ये सब नहीं ठीक है. So it turns ugly sometimes, and we all have seen or experienced maybe in our lives. So how can we protect ourselves? How can we turn that addiction of love into an enlightened love? So this is what we are going to learn, what he wants to tell us. Let's move forward. But there comes a point when your partner behaves in ways that fail to meet your needs, or rather those of your ego. The feelings of fear, pain, and lack that are an intrinsic part of egoic consciousness, but had been covered up by the love relationship, now resurface. Just as with every other addiction, you are on a high when the drug is available, but invariably there comes a time when the drug no longer works for you. That is so true. जो भी आपने कभी देखा होगा आसपास जो ड्रग एडिक्टेड होते हैं लोग, वो बड़े हाई बड़े हैप्पी उस समय होते हैं, उसके बाद जब नशा उतरता है तो बहुत डिप्रेशन होता है. So this is how the love relationship is, when you love somebody, और फिर जब आपकी नीड्स नहीं पूरी होती हैं, जब आपको हकीकत दिखता है, then you just are so depressed because you don't love him unconditionally. You don't like to work on your how to deal with that. So this is an art. I feel anybody who wants to get married should have some kind of classes, I guess, what to expect, or in a relationship. These life lessons are never taught to us. We are taught how to be a good computer scientist or be a doctor, be a good engineering. How about life lessons? We are never taught. How about our children? They should have some kind of understanding. आगे पढ़ते हैं. Just as with every other addiction, you are on a high when the drug is available. But invariably, there comes a time when the drug no longer works for you. When those painful feelings reappear, you feel them even more strongly than before. And what is more, you now perceive your partner as the cause of those feelings. तो हम एक दूसरों को दोषी ठहराते हैं कि इनकी वजह से मुझे ये हो रहा है. You are the cause of my pain or suffering. So this understanding we must realize. और ये ज़्यादातर मैंने देखा है, एक्सपीरियंस से आता है या एज के हिसाब से आता है. And especially if you're spiritual or you do your breathing exercises, that really helps you overcome your negative emotions. You start accepting people unconditionally. These are the tricks that I can share with you. That has worked for me. When I'm so disturbed, sometimes I just go in silence. I just sit quietly. Because words, आप कुछ बोलोगे उल्टा सुल्टा बोलोगे. It's better to just be with you, go with that phase, go with that emotions, breathe it out. We can breathe out all our negative emotions. That is the only cure. Or go for a nice long walk. These are the things that has helped me. When those painful feelings reappear, you feel them even more strongly than before. And what is more, you now perceive your partner as the cause of those feelings. This means that this means that you project them outward and attack the other with all the savage violence that is part of your pain. This attack may awaken the partner's own pain, and he or she may counter your attack. At this point, the ego is still unconsciously hoping that its attack or its attempts at manipulation will be sufficient punishment to induce your partner to change their behavior. so that it can use them again as a cover-up for your pain. Every addiction arises from an unconscious refusal to face and move through your own pain. Every addiction starts with pain and ends with pain. अब एडिक्शन चाहे ड्रग का हो किसका भी हो, क्यों लेते हैं लोग? क्योंकि वो दुखी होते हैं, वो खुश रहना चाहते हैं। और फिर वो क्या खुशी पा सकते हैं उस एडिक्शन से? नहीं, क्योंकि जब जो भी आप एक्सटर्नली जो ले रहे हैं, कोई ड्रग हो, मेडिसिन हो, कुछ भी हो, वो थोड़ी देर ही काम करती है, फिर आप उसी पेन में चले जाते हैं। Whatever the substance you are addicted to, alcohol, food, legal or illegal drugs, or a person, you are using something or somebody to cover up your pain because you're not addressing your pain. You're trying to subdue it, or you're going to just shove it under the carpet. You're not facing your pain. That is why after the initial euphoria has passed, there is so much unhappiness, so much pain in intimate relationships. सबसे ज्यादा आपके इंटीमेट रिलेशनशिप से ही पेन होता है। कहते हैं ना, प्यार का दर्द ही सबसे ज्यादा दुखदाई होता है। They do not cause pain and unhappiness. They bring out वो उससे आपको दुख नहीं होता है, पर किस चीज से आप दुखी होते हैं? आपके अंदर पहले से ही कोई पेन है और ये एग्रवेट कर देता है। You react to somebody's action. They bring out the pain and unhappiness that is already in you. Every addiction does that. जब आप देखिए कुछ भी या अल्कोहल कुछ लेते हैं, कुछ भी, तो क्या होता है? आप बोलने लगते हैं, आप अपने पुराने दर्द को व्यक्त करते हैं, बाहर निकालते हैं और उससे और दुखी होते हैं। So this is what is happening. It's not that that person is making you unhappy. It's because you are reacting to already that pain that is in your subconscious mind. It is just resurfacing. सब कुछ ऊपर आ रहा है, and we don't know how to handle that, how to deal with that. They bring out the pain and unhappiness that is already in you. Every addiction does that. Every addiction reaches a point where it does not work for you anymore. And then you feel the pain more intensely than ever. This is one reason why most people are always trying to escape from the present moment and are seeking some kind of salvation in the future. So यहाँ पर मैं थोड़ा सा एक मोमेंट लेती हूँ कि what does it mean? Especially in US, I see, India में भी अब होने लगा है, but just some topic that we must address that is happening in the society around. We're becoming very intolerant to each other, even in intimate relationships. We just have this picture, this rosy picture, and it has to be like this. And if he or she is not doing that, then they don't love you. Love is not, don't expect that person to all the time keep pampering you, all the time telling you, I love you, I love you, I love you. It doesn't mean anything. It's just the small gestures. If he just makes you a cup of coffee when he's making his, that's a gesture of love. Somebody cares about you. If somebody opens the door for you, you say thank you. If you're doing a load of laundry, he comes or she comes and helps you. So as we grow, as we live together, everything changes. There's so many responsibilities, and then later children come and और भी बढ़ जाता है, फिर और fights होने लगती हैं. So I believe it's very, very important. यहाँ पे मैं देखती हूँ छोटी छोटी बात में लोग डिवोर्स दे देते हैं. And then they're seeking happiness somewhere else. They feel अच्छा इससे नहीं खुश हूँ, अब कोई नहीं, दूसरी शादी करूंगी, उससे खुश होंगी. आपको क्या मालूम कि वो कैसा होगा? Unknown. I've read something I should not have. But I just want to repeat, it doesn't apply to anything like that. But they say that a known devil is better than the unknown. Actually, you know क्या shortcomings है इस person में. You can work around. You can deal with it. You know how to not react to certain things. So this is what he's saying, that this is one reason why most people are always trying to escape, because we are trying to escape. We are not trying to not fix it, I would say. Try to unconditionally do your work, Just think that we are two souls, different souls. Even he or she might be unhappy what I'm doing. So we have to just try to understand. And if you're in a spiritual level, I think it makes it easier to deal with the shortcomings of your partner. Or आगे पढ़ते हैं. The first thing that they might encounter if they focus their attention on the now is their pain. And that is what they fear. If they only knew how easy it is to access in the now the power of presence that dissolves the past and its pain, the reality that dissolves the illusion. If they only knew how close they are to their own reality, how close to God. If you have God in between you or in your house or in your family, things change. कहते हैं ना, the family which prays together stays together. That is true. We all must put up to Guruji हमारी life में है. We must make one time, whichever time suits, morning, evening, that the whole family sits together with the children, light a diya, and not a long puja or long Shabad or anything. Just sit there for a few moments. It's a busy life. Just make 5 minutes routine every day. You will see your house starts getting that energy changes. Arguments just starts dissolving. There's more silence. There is more, I would say, the divine energy. That is very important. Anytime, if you have an argument, if you also raise your voice, try to just have a glass of water, or try to just open the window and breathe out, or just go outside for a walk instead of reacting. I must share this, what I had 20 years ago. I was listening to somebody, and you know what he said, because at that time, this must be 30 years ago, before I met Guruji, before Guruji called me under his fold. I was very interested in learning a lot of things, how to lead your life, how to be happy all the time. So I used to attend a lot of talks, चाहे वो चिन्मयानंद मिशन का हो, चाहे वो Art of Living का हो, चाहे वो ब्रह्म कुमारी का हो. I was just searching for something. And one of the talks that I went was, वो जो सेंट थे वो बता रहे थे, कह रहे थे कि एक लेडी महिला उनके पास आई और वो कहने लगी कि मुझे मैं तो अपनी लाइफ एंड करने जा रही हूँ, मैं बस आपसे लास्ट बार ट्राई करना चाहती हूँ कि मेरी लाइफ कैसे ठीक हो सकती है. तो कहते हैं क्या हुआ? एंड देन शी सेज, मेरी सास के साथ मैं रहती हूँ, अपने हस्बैंड के साथ. मेरी सास ने मेरा जीना बहुत ही मुश्किल कर दिया है, दुर्भर कर दिया है. वो दिन रात मेरी बुराई करती रहती हैं, कोई आता है उसके साथ बुराई करती हैं. I cannot live my life and my husband is not supporting me. What is the use? They didn't even have any children. And she says, I'm so depressed all the time, and there's so many fights. When she says something, I say back and all that, and it's just a very caustic relationship. I cannot deal with it. I have to end my life. So वो कहते हैं अच्छा, तो कहते हैं कुछ आप मुझे दीजिए, कुछ बताइए, कुछ करिए मेरे लिए. So he just goes inside and gives her एक बॉटल में पानी डाल के देते हैं. कहते हैं ये डिवाइन पानी है, ऐसा करो, 1 हफ्ते इसको ट्राई करो, जब तुम्हारी सास कुछ बोले तुमको, तुम्हारी बुराई करें, तो तुम इसको 1 घूँट पी लो, पियो नहीं, मुँह में डाल लो और उसको स्वॉलो नहीं करो। Just keep it in your mouth. Whenever she says anything bad about you, do that for a week and then come back and tell me. She said, अच्छा ठीक है. She started doing that. जब भी उनकी सास कुछ बोलती थी, वो पानी पीती नहीं थी, मुंह में डाल करके उसको मुंह भरा रहता था. So she could not say anything. This happened for a week. और 4-5 दिन हो गए, तन उनकी सास कोई आई उनको उनके घर में विजिट करने, तो उनकी सास कहने लगी, मेरी बहू तो बहुत अच्छी है, मैं ही बुरी रही होंगी, वो तो मैं इतनी बुराई करती हूँ, वो मुझे जवाब ही नहीं दे रही है कुछ. तो मैं भी अब कोशिश कर रही हूँ कि मैं उसकी बुराई ना करूँ, और घर उनका स्वर्ग बनने लगा. एंड वो 1 हफ्ते बाद वो जाती है उन सेंट के पास और कहती हैं कि आपने जो मुझे वो जो पानी डिवाइन पानी दिया था, वो काम कर गया है और मेरी सास बहुत अच्छी तरह से मुझे ट्रीट कर रही हैं. अब मैं मरना नहीं चाहती हूँ, मैं जीना चाहती हूँ. व्हाट इज़ दिस? These are simple tips of life. क्यों हम रिएक्ट करते हैं? हम सबको ये सीखना चाहिए. बहुत ईज़ी टिप है. मैंने भी बहुत सीखा है इससे. मैं मन ही मन मंत्र जाप करने लगती हूँ. I don't react. So it is very, very powerful to understand. Before leaving somebody or leaving the relationships, work on it. It might change everything. You never know next relationship how it will end up with you. At least this one, you know, you can work out with it. So let's move on. Avoidance of relationship in an attempt to avoid pain is not the answer either. That is so true. That's what I was saying. The pain is there anyway. 3 failed relationships in as many years are more likely to force you into awakening than 3 years on a desert island or shut away in your room. But if you could bring intense presence into your aloneness, that would work for you too. So beautiful. From addictive to enlightened relationships. अब ये बताएंगे कि जो addictive relationships जो बहुत clinging type के होते हैं, और you cannot live without that person, and you want you want to be focused of his life or her life, and that, how does it work? How does it change from addiction to enlightened relationships? Whether you are living alone or with a partner, this remains the key. Being present and intensifying your presence by taking your attention ever more deeply into the now. For love to flourish, the light of your presence needs to be strong enough so that you no longer get taken over by the thinker or the pain body and mistake them for who you are. To know yourself as the being underneath the thinker, the stillness underneath the mental noise, the joy and love underneath the pain is freedom, salvation and enlightenment. So जो भी आपकी पेन है ना, आपको उसको सोचना है कि उसके अंदर आप क्या है, उसके अंदर आपका अपना, आपकी अंदर जो, अगर आपके अंदर जो द फाउंटेन ऑफ जॉय जो है ना, उसको आप कभी कम होने ही ना दीजिए, चाहे जो कोई भी कुछ भी करे आपके साथ. This is very, very important. Don't let that inner light that we all have, that divine light, don't let anybody dim it for you, no matter who that person is. We owe that to ourselves. अपनी नजरों में हम अपने को गिराए नहीं, या कम ना सोचे. कोई कुछ कह रहा हो, आपको नीचा दिखा रहा हो, you just, अब तो हमारे पास मंत्र जाप है, that's like a कवच. Just be with that. Keep chanting in your mind, because you have to have yourself, you have to have your being with you. उसको कम नहीं होने दीजिए. कोई कितनी भी आपकी बुराई करे, नीचा दिखाए, you are zero, you are nothing, you are this and that, because of you this happened, you are not capable of doing this, you don't have any brain and this, all that people do say when they are angry. And we take it so personally that we are just numb and we just be victim and we become depression and anxiety and worry and this and that. We become paralyzed with all this negative that somebody is throwing on us. We need to be strong. Our soul has to be strong to face the life. Every day you'll meet somebody who will be negative towards you. That doesn't mean you're not capable. That is how life is. Don't expect everybody to be saying, wah, 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 wah. Even if you're the best person, sometime out of competition or jealousy, people will start saying you're good for nothing. Just to put your morale down. You must understand this. You must go wash your face, wear nice clothes and move on. Don't let anybody pull you down. You're special. Feel good about yourself. To disidentify from the pain body is to bring presence into the pain and thus transmute it. To disidentify from thinking is to be the silent watcher of your thoughts and behavior, especially the repetitive patterns of your mind and the roles played by the ego. If you stop investing it with selfness, the mind loses its compulsive quality, which basically is the compulsion to judge and so to resist what is, which creates conflict, drama, and new pain. In fact, the moment that judgment stops through acceptance of what is, you're free of the mind. You have made room for love, for joy, for peace. So just first of all, you have to understand the pain and you have to understand sometimes you have to accept that situation. You have to accept that person as they are because sometimes people don't make sense. But if you react, everything becomes just too much for you to handle. So sometimes you have to use your wisdom. There are moments where you can sit down quietly and talk to each other about your pain, about what you would like. We all have shortcomings. Nobody's perfect. So this is basically what he's saying is the moment that judgment stops through acceptance of what is, accept it. You are free of the mind. You have made room for love, for joy, for peace. First, you stop judging yourself. Then you stop judging your partner. The greatest catalyst for change in a relationship is complete acceptance of your partner as he or she is without needing to judge or change them in any way. Have we ever changed anybody? I don't think so. I have changed. Do you think even though you have been married for so many years, have you been able to change your partner? No. Then you have accepted him or her with all their flaws, realizing nobody is perfect. We ourselves have a lot of flaws. And how to move on with the spiritual life. And as I said, if you make a time to sit down and light a diya and pray, your life will change. It will change. That immediately takes you beyond ego. When you accept your partner with their faults, all mind games and all addictive clingings are then over because you don't expect them to, keep pampering you. If they do, or you're happy, that's fine. But if you keep expecting, then you will be always disappointed. Especially men, they forget a lot of things. There are no victims and no perpetrators anymore. No accuser and no accused. We don't play games of accusing each other. We just accept each other how they are. And there has to be humor. Humor is very important in any relationship. You have to laugh it out, even at your own faults. हाँ बोल दो, हाँ हाँ मैंने ये किया था, oh my God, what did I do? I will try to be better. Oh, I dropped this, I did that. Whatever it is, this is all feeding the ego. And I must tell you what my mother told me one time. She used to say that men have a lot of ego. Before, when I was getting married, she told me this. Just keep feeding the ego. Make them feel, even if they're not capable of, keep praising them. They thrive on that. And things change. And that was a very, very important lesson that she taught. Try it out. Just keep praising your partner and just showering and keep feeding the ego, because sometimes you need to be wise or use your wisdom how to move on in life in a more joyful partnership. This is also the end of all codependency, of being drawn into somebody else's unconscious pattern and thereby enabling it to continue. You will then either separate in love or move ever more deeply into the now together, into being. Can it be that simple? Yes, it is that simple. Love is a state of being. Your love is not outside, it is deep within you. You can never lose it, and it cannot leave you. It is not dependent on some other body, some external form. In the stillness of your presence, you can feel your own formless and timeless reality as the unmanifested life that animates your physical form. You can then feel the same life deep within every other human and every other creature. You look beyond the veil of form and separation. This is the realization of oneness. This is love. Because we see them as just part of us. We see everybody. Then you don't get angry about anybody's faults. You feel that we all are same. We all have weaknesses. We all stumble down. We all get up and move on. We cannot be so harsh on ourselves or others. And when we accept that nobody is perfect, we accept our partner with their flaws also. Forgiveness, gratitude, that's the basic qualities if you want to nourish your love for your partner. And I feel respect is above love. If there's no respect, love doesn't mean anything. Although brief glimpses are possible, love cannot flourish unless you are permanently free of mind identification and your presence is intense enough to have dissolved the body pain. Or you can at least remain present as a watcher. The pain body cannot then take you over and so become destructive of love. Relationships as spiritual practice. This is very important part now we are entering. As humans have become increasingly identified with their mind, most relationships are not rooted in being and so turn into the source of pain and become dominated by problems and conflict. If relationships energize and magnify egoic mind patterns and activate the pain body as they do at this time, why not accept this fact rather? Why not accept this fact rather than try to escape from it? Why not cooperate with it instead of avoiding relationships or continuing to pursue the phantom of an ideal partner as an answer to your problems or a means of feeling fulfilled? With the acknowledgement and acceptance of the facts also comes a degree of freedom from them. For example, when you know there is disharmony and you hold that knowing, through your knowing, a new factor has come in, and the disharmony cannot remain unchanged. When you know you are not at peace, Your knowing creates a still space that surrounds your non-peace in a loving and tender embrace, and then transmutes your non-peace into peace. As far as inner transformation is concerned, there is nothing you can do about it. You cannot transform yourself, and you certainly cannot transform your partner or anybody else. All you can do is create a space for transformation to happen, for grace and love to enter. This is what I've meant when you sit and pray together. That is when the grace and love enters. That's how you become to your original, go back to your original self, a peaceful, loving being. Because all that arguments and fights are only related with the mind, our egoic mind, that, you did that, this happened, that happened. Once you just calm down and sit down, you realize that you are in that space and with grace. And you have to let the grace and love to enter. So whenever your relationship is not working, whenever it brings out the madness in you and in your partner, be glad. What was unconscious is being brought up to the light. It is an opportunity for salvation. Every moment, hold the knowing of that moment, particularly of your inner state. If there is anger, know that there is anger. You have to address that issue. You don't avoid it. You have to face it. If you're facing that anger or that resentment, you analyze it within yourself. If there is jealousy, defensiveness, the urge to argue, the need to be right, an inner child demanding love and attention, or emotional pain of any kind, whatever it is, know the reality of that moment and hold the knowing. The relationship then becomes your sadhana, your spiritual practice. Here I must just take a pause, and I think if we become spiritual or make it into a sadhana or your spiritual practice, there's always an art to change the person. Not by saying out loud in your mind, you bring that person in your dhyan in front of you, and you just keep saying that this person is so good. This is the best that has happened in my life. It's just, I'm so joyful. I'm so happy with this person, even if that person has done you wrong. Even if that person is your partner, you want to be with that person, but you cannot change. That person's not changing, but in your mind has a lot of power. You can send out the right kind of frequency, and things starts changing. That we must understand what is the way, how to change things in your life if something is not working. And you start giving good energy to that person, you will see slowly, it does make a difference. That person will change. We must practice this, and this is what sadhana is, or this is the spiritual practice. Not fighting over it, not arguing, not raising your voice and make your home into hell, battleground. If you turn that situation into your sadhana, your spiritual practice, or just sit down in pranayam and breathe it out, all the negative emotions. Go take a shower, sit down. First thing in the morning, do this. Last thing at night, do that. Again, repeat it. You'll see the difference. If you observe unconscious behavior in your partner, hold it in the loving embrace of your knowing so that you won't react. Unconsciousness and knowing cannot coexist for long. Even if the knowing is only in the other person and not in the one who is acting out the unconsciousness, the energy form that lies behind hostility and attack finds the presence of love absolutely intolerable. If you react at all to your partner's unconsciousness, you become unconscious yourself. But if you then remember to know your reaction, nothing is lost. If somebody is becoming so hostile or just being so negative with everything in their words, we can be still at peace by not reacting. And this comes with practicing your sadhana or your spiritual practice. As I said, spiritual practice, especially with Guruji now in our lives. Haven't our lives changed? Haven't we stopped reacting to all the madness around us? Haven't we find our inner joy? If not, then we should. Because his help is there. We must reach out. We must manifest that into our lives to a maximum benefit. Let's move on. Never before have relationships been as problematic and conflict-ridden as they are now. We see that all around us. As you may have noticed, they are not here to make you happy or fulfilled. If you continue to pursue the goal of salvation through a relationship, you will be disillusioned again and again. But if you accept that the relationship is here to make you conscious instead of happy, then the relationship will offer you salvation. And you will be aligning yourself with a higher consciousness that wants to be born into this world. For those who hold on to the old patterns, there will be increasing pain, violence, confusion, and madness. This is so true that how we can, we already know that nobody can give you happiness, no person, place, or thing. So basically, we have to find our own happiness within, or be wise enough how to not react and make changes in our life. We cannot change your partner. We cannot change, no matter how long. If you're married for 30, 40, 50 years, it doesn't matter. Have we changed? I don't think so. We have changed. Sometimes women change faster, I would say, but men usually don't change. So how to deal with that? So that's what he's saying, that your sadhana and your spiritual practice, because when we practice our sadhana and spiritual practice, we become more tolerant to the madness of the world. We don't react. We understand, we are conscious. And even if we react, we sit down and analyze and change our behavior next time. Or, as I said before, have a sip of water and keep it in your mouth. Try that. It helps somebody, it can help us too. Instead of reacting at that moment, if we are just silent, everything subsides. वो तो जवाब सवाल इधर उधर आर्ग्यूमेंट तो बढ़ता 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 कहाँ पहुंच जाता है. How many people does it take to make your life into the spiritual practice? Never mind if your partner will not cooperate. Sanity, consciousness can only come into this world through you. You do not need to wait for the world to become sane or for somebody else to become conscious before you can be enlightened. You may wait forever. Do not accuse each other of being unconscious. The moment you start to argue, you have identified with a mental position and are now defending not only that position, but also your sense of self. The ego is in charge. You have become unconscious. At times, it may be appropriate to point out certain aspects of your partner's behavior. If you're very alert, very present, ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. At times, it may be appropriate to point out certain aspects of your partner's behavior. There are moments when there is peace and harmony There's a time when you can discuss these things. We must be wise enough to understand when we can discuss. If you're very alert, very present, you can do so without ego involvement, without blaming, accusing, or making the other wrong. When your partner behaves unconsciously, relinquish all judgment. Judgment is either to confuse someone's unconscious behavior with who they are, or to project your own unconsciousness into another person and mistake that for who they are. To relinquish judgment does not mean that you do not recognize dysfunction and unconsciousness when you see it. I mean, to be not reacting doesn't mean that you बढ़ावा दें उनकी जो इस तरह का behavior कर रहे हैं. You must recognize this is dysfunction. This is not right. It means being the knowing rather than being the reaction and the judge. You will then either be totally free of reaction, or you may react and still be the knowing, the space in which the reaction is watched and allowed to be. Instead of fighting the darkness, you bring in the light. Instead of reacting to delusion, you see the delusion, yet at the same time, look through it. It's very important. It's not easy to do it, but it is doable, especially if you're on the spiritual path. Being the knowing creates a clear space of loving presence that allows all things and all people to be as they are. That is the first rule in life. Accept everybody, accept the division, accept the differences. We are all taught that. But when it comes to our intimate relationships, do we follow that? This is what the writer is trying to teach us, how to deal with our intimate relationships, how to not react, how to handle it with our sadhana and our spiritual practice and make our home a temple where we all can sit together, eat together, pray together, not in different parts of the house. Being the knowing creates a clear space of loving presence that allows all things and all people to be as they are. No greater catalyst for transformation exists. If you practice this, your partner cannot stay with you and remain unconscious. If you both agree that the relationship will be your spiritual practice, so much the better. You can then express your thoughts and feelings to each other as soon as they occur, or as soon as a reaction comes up, so that you do not create a time gap in which an unexpressed or unacknowledged emotion or grievance can fester and grow. So we must know what time when we can address that with each other. I'll just read this page and then we can stop. Learn to give expression to what you feel without blaming. ये सीखना, ये भी एक कला है जो हमें नहीं आती, हम सब को बहुत मुश्किल से आती है या गुरु जी की कृपा से ही आती है. Learn to give expression to what you feel without blaming. हम शुरू ही ऐसे करते हैं. हमारे तो सब ये ठीक हो रहा था, पर आपने ऐसे कह दिया तो ऐसा हो गया, आपको ऐसा नहीं करना था, या you just aggravated this, that's why I'm like this, you just do this, you that blaming game शुरू हो जाता है. That is not the way you can express how you feel. We have to understand, एक युक्ति होनी चाहिए, एक चतुराई भी होनी चाहिए, how to address those things that you want to sit down and talk about. Learn to listen to your partner in an open, non-defensive way. ये listen ही हम नहीं कर पाते हैं, अक्सर होता है. We want to just talk, give our thoughts. क्या हुआ मेरे साथ, ये गलत हुआ, ये हुआ, वो हुआ. अरे उनकी भी partner space for expressing himself or herself. Be present. Accusing, defending, attacking, all those patterns that are designed to strengthen or protect the ego or to get its needs met will then become redundant. Giving space to others and to yourself is vital. Love cannot flourish without it. When you have moved the two factors that are destructive of relationships, then the pain body has been transmuted and you are no longer identified with mind and mental positions. And if your partner has done the same, you will experience the bliss of the flowering of relationship. Instead of mirroring to each other your pain and your unconsciousness, जब हम एक दूसरे को शीशा दिखाते हैं आपने ये किया आपने ये किया, तो वो कैसे ठीक होगा? If you have to experience the bliss of the flowering of a relationship, you must, somebody has to bend down. Why not us? Why not you? Why not they? One has to have the wisdom when to stop the argument, be silent, or when to speak. That is a very important thing. And if your partner has done the same, you will experience the bliss of the flowering of relationship. Instead of mirroring to each other your pain and your unconsciousness, instead of satisfying your mutual addictive ego needs, you will reflect back to each other the love that you feel deep within, the love that comes with the realization of your oneness with all that is. This is the love that has no opposite. If your partner is still identified with the mind and the pain body while you're already free, this will represent a major challenge, not to you, but to your partner. It is not easy to live with an enlightened person, or rather, it is so easy that the ego finds it extremely threatening. Remember that the ego needs problems, conflicts, and enemies to strengthen the sense of separateness on which its identity depends. The unenlightened partner's mind will be deeply frustrated because its fixed positions are not resisted, which means they will become shaky and weak. And there is even the danger that they may collapse altogether, resulting in loss of self. The pain body is demanding feedback and not getting it. The need for argument, drama, and conflict is not being met. And we stop the reading for today right here because there's so much to churn. I hope we all can analyze everything in a very calm manner and understand how we can change our behavior, how not to react, और how किस तरह से आपस का जो रिलेशनशिप है और मधुर बनाया जा सकता है, चाहे जो एज हो, even if you're newly married or you're in a relationship, or if you're married for 30, 40 years, it doesn't matter. There is always some insanity going around. How to deal with it? How we become victorious rather than a victim? That is the kala, or I would say that is the wisdom that we must acquire if we are conscious or if we are spiritual. And if we don't react, then what happens? जैसे अभी वो end किया है, the pain body is demanding feedback. आपने तो spiritual practice से अपने को ठीक कर लिया, nothing, you're not disturbed, or you accept the person. But how about the other person? What will happen? The need for argument, drama, and conflict is not being met because the other person is used to it. But if you don't react, if you don't feed on it, it slowly will end. And that's how we end the reading for today. Thank you so much. And Jai Guruji, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivji Sada Sahai, Om Namah Shivaya, Guruji Sada Sahai. Guruji को हम अपने हर रिलेशनशिप में उनको अगर सामने रख करके सारे कार्य करते हैं, तो उनके आशीर्वाद से हमें समझ आने लगती है कहाँ मेरी गलती है, कहाँ मुझे झुकना है, कहाँ माफी मांगना है, कहाँ दूसरे को फॉरगिव करना है. एक चुटकी में घर बिखर भी सकता है और एक चुटकी में बन भी सकता है. So it lies basically most of the time I would say it lies with a woman, because women are more forgiving, they are more sensitive, they are more they forgive easily. That's how we are made. We have that inner strength more, I would say. वो calmness, gentleness, that is God given. But not always. Some houses I've seen, women are the main reason where the house has just divided. History, you have seen it happening so many times. So we cannot generalize, but most of the time we can make everything work to our own benefit. And with Guruji in our houses, in our homes, becoming temple now, he's guiding, and his guiding light will transform every situation in our favor. जय गुरु जी. Thank you so much. Good night to each one of you. आप लोग सोने जा रहे हैं. अब यहाँ पे सुबह हो रही है. हमारी कर्म भूमि अब शुरू हो रही है. Thank you, Guruji, for this beautiful day, and thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Jai Guruji.